Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, an upheaval in Ottawa with Prime Minister Trudeau outlining his plan to resign. We get some reaction and insight. The Barrie Colts have traded for more giddy-up as they gallop toward the playoffs. Could this be the year? And it's the middle of winter with snow all around, but they're thinking soccer in Orillia. We get the conversation started after this. Prime Minister Trudeau announced Monday he will resign as soon as the party can select a new leader. It was not unexpected given the loud rumbling from within his own caucus. He also asked the Governor-General to prorogue Parliament until late March, which the Governor-General granted. Former Barrie Mayor Jeff Lehman, now chair of the District of Muskoka and a former Ontario Liberal candidate, took our call to get his thoughts on what has transpired, what the Trudeau government did accomplish, where things went south, and what it might mean for the federal Liberals. He's with Barrie 360's Ian MacLennan.
You've had, obviously, interactions with the Prime Minister during your term as mayor. At first blush, your thoughts on the Prime Minister, your interactions with him, and how you feel today?
Well, I think over 10 years, I've had the opportunity to meet the Prime Minister on a number of occasions. And, I remember back to the first few years of his tenure as Prime Minister. He came to Barrie for an announcement of some funding for our transit system and then visited the East Bayfield Community Center, and he just got a rock star welcome. And that's what things were like for Justin Trudeau in the first couple of years. And we're really at the other end of the spectrum today. It really, I think a lot of anger has been focused on the Prime Minister and on him as an individual, and obviously got to the point where he needed to move on, and probably before now. This, I think the timing of the decision now creates some complications for the party.
And when the knives come out internally, how challenging is that for a leader, let alone the entire party?
I can't imagine being in that position and continuing. I think it was quite clear from the caucus leadership, from really what happened in that remarkable week before Christmas with the finance minister, that the time hadn't just come, the time had passed. And, we live in a time where politicians seem to go from hero to zero very quickly. Much faster than they used to. And I think some of that is how quickly information gets around and social media and all those sorts of things. But certainly that's been the case for Mr. Trudeau. I think he came in to immense popularity and is leaving with a great deal of unpopularity. And certainly, for the party, they're hoping they can turn the page now.
I mean, for somebody who stays, their tenure, lingers, whether it's Trudeau or a Kathleen Wynne or a McGuinty or the Conservatives under Mulroney. I'm just wondering, was it more about the person or the party or the politics? Just what, did he not see this train coming, or was he in denial, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I suppose all leaders grow old in the public's mind, for sure, and it's inevitable. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about Obama or Justin Trudeau or anyone else. You're rarely as popular in your 10th year as you were in your first year, and so that's in some ways inevitable. But I think the level of anger at Justin Trudeau was greater than I have seen with other politicians, and I think the frustrations of the pandemic, and especially the frustrations of Canadians around the affordability crisis that we face today, really got focused on him as an individual. And whether that's fair or not, that comes unfortunately with having the highest office in the land.
I know sometimes when a leader steps down and then there's some reflection, like we are seeing a lot now with the passing of Jimmy Carter. I'm just wondering, what legacy do you think Justin Trudeau, when the history books are written, as they like to say?
Yeah, it's tough to know. I think in the short term, it won't be a positive picture because of the unpopularity that that he's faced in the last few years, and I think the unpopularity of some of his sort of decisions and profile in the country. Over the longer term, I would say that the Trudeau government in its first years accomplished many significant things, huge reductions in child poverty and modernizing many aspects of Canadian law and society, but those are certainly overshadowed in recent years by the Prime Minister's unpopularity. So I suppose we'll see whether history will be more kind to him as the years go by or not. But it's definitely tougher these days to leave on top, that's for sure.
Whoever takes over the reins from Justin Trudeau, does it paint a pretty picture for that person? I'm thinking of Kim Campbell taking over, and the Conservatives were destroyed. Is this going to be a short tenure Prime Minister?
Well, I think it's likely that the opposition will force an election, and remember that the incoming leader will take over a minority parliament. And so unless they have the confidence of at least one other party with enough votes, it's very likely that the government would fall on a vote of non-confidence, and that could happen as early as late March, early April. As for the political prospects of that person, well, it's very, very tough to know. I do think a lot of the unpopularity was tied to the Prime Minister, but certainly the party is a long way behind in the polls, and they will have a ton of work to do to be competitive if there's an election in the spring.
I mean, with the NDP, pharmacare came to be, and there were positives. Where did things, do you think, go off the rails, or was it just being some decisions made that turned out weren't too smart?
Well, I've asked myself this question too, Ian, because with the GST holiday, for example, you would have thought a tax break on Christmas gifts, toys, and food would have been popular, and yet even that seemed to turn sour for the Liberals. And I think, they probably didn't make their life any easier by making it pretty complicated and late, and I think a lot of people question the motive for it. But you have to look at other things too, like the dental plan and farm care, as you say, that should have been relatively positive developments. I think just nothing was going to turn this ship around, and I think the negative momentum that was associated with Mr. Trudeau, again, rightly or wrongly, was impossible to turn around. And so he's maybe a little belatedly coming to that realization, and now it's time to move forward.
Barrie 360 reached out to the city's two Conservative MPs for comment. Barrie Innisfil's John Brassard was unavailable for interview, but did send a media release late Monday. We have his thoughts posted at barrie360.com. Barrie Springwater Oro-Medonte MP Doug Shipley had not returned our call prior to putting this edition to bed. The Barrie Colts wheeling and dealing the past few days with the North Bay Battalion, snagging 2 more pieces for their playoff puzzle and in the process reuniting a line that has given them some grief in the past. Barrie 360's Will Conklin gets the details from Colts writer and broadcaster Gene Pereira.
Mr. Gene, welcome back from the break. And the Colts, they sure made some news as we entered the new year. In the second half of the season, made a big trade with the North Bay Battalion. Why don't you break it down for us?
Yeah, obviously a big blockbuster trade here ahead of the deadline, and the Barrie Colts acquire Anthony Romani and Owen Van Stiefel, two veteran forwards from the North Bay Battalion, and in return, it comes at a big price. They give up young Parker Vaughan, their first overall pick, 5th overall in the 2024 draft, as well as veteran overager Zach Weigel. So, there's certainly a price there, but, in return, Barrie gets 2 outstanding forwards, and it reunites the big line of Dylan Wakely, Anthony Romani, and Van Stiefel that were really led, North Bay to a couple of Eastern Conference finals, and, they were powerhouse for the main part. These guys were the drivers, and an outstanding top lane. Romani finished 3rd in OHL scoring with 111 points. Van Stiefel, I think, had 86, and Wakely 104, so over 300 points combined among the trio, and they'll be reunited in Barrie, and again, just a huge, huge trade for the Colts. And talking to Marty Williamson, he left no doubt that this team's looking to make some noise this year and make a run at an OHL championship and possibly berth in the Memorial Cup.
Those three you said already have chemistry. Was that tantalizing for Marty Williamson? Is that why he wanted to get those two players?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of that deal. And, acquiring Wakely early in the year and really a veteran and that experience. I mean, these guys have playoff experience and, just the chemistry. I mean, that's a big part that when you add these different parts, you're not sure how everybody's going to fit together, if they're going to fit together. And these three, that, they're going to have to learn some new systems, but they're so used to playing with one another. And, Marty told me that, just in talking to Romani on the phone, he was just so excited about, a chance to win it all, and an opportunity again to play with his buddies Wakely and Van Steetzl. And again, Van Steetzl is the captain of the battalion, so you're adding leadership, you're adding grit, in Van Steetzl, and then Romani, one of the top pure scorers in the Ontario Hockey League. He's gonna, told that it's likely that he doesn't play this week, but he'll be back next week. He had a broken clavicle earlier in the year. He's been skating for quite some time, and really North Bay was kind of holding him out a bit just to ensure that he didn't get injured before the trade deadline. But the chance here that he'll be back very shortly, and once they kind of get up with the systems, this is a line that can produce big points.
Yeah, talking about the lineup, this really adds depth to their whole roster. Talk about that too.
Oh, it's just outstanding. And one thing, Will, that you see in the playoffs, the teams that often win are the teams that have depth. I mean, with the playoffs, usually it's every second night that you're going out there in these intense battles, and you need depth. I mean, when you lean on two lines, the ice time and that type of thing, it can kind of wear down a long playoff run. And all of a sudden, you look at the Barrie top nine. I mean, they match with pretty much anybody in the Ontario Hockey League, and added to that outstanding blue line and the goaltending they've been getting. And you see, this is a very deep Barrie team. I think there's the idea here that they might make another addition, another forward, just to give them some even some more depth and length. But all of a sudden, I mean, this is a really deep hockey club and a team that has serious ideas of winning it all.
Yeah, Gene, are there any other moves in the making for the Colts before the January 10th deadline?
Yeah, talking to Marty Williamson, he said, hey, we still got some picks here that we can move, and they're certainly looking around, and we got a few days before the Friday trade deadline, and I think they are. I think they're going to add probably another forward. Now, what kind of forward that be? Could it be a top forward? There's that opportunity, but at least a depth guy, a guy that can fit in that top nine. Should there be injuries, that type of thing. But certainly, add to the depth up front. I think the prices are very high, but I think Barrie still has some assets they could use to add even more to that depth.
Well, welcome to Romani and Van Steetzl, but goodbye to Parker Vaughan and Zach Weigel. Talk about their kind of tenure with the Colts and what's in the future for them going to North Bay. Yeah,
and first starting with the veteran Zach Weigel. I mean, this guy, you talk about heart and soul, and Marty mentioned that, and it's tough. It's tough for a coach. You kind of have a player with you for 3 or 4 years, and a guy like Weigel, who last year filled in on the top offensive line, and then can play penalty kill, can put him in any role. And again, this is a guy that he would accept any role. A lot of players sometimes, they want to be that offensive guy, but for Weigel, he always put team first, and he excelled in those roles. And it's never easy. And I mean, especially you get ready you're building to winner. Here's a guy that's been heart and soul with you for a couple of years, but the temptation, the fact that they could really address and get that top line reunited with Van Steetzl and Wakely and Romani, was just something they felt they had to do. And, again, Weigel, just an outstanding veteran in the room, well-liked among his teammates. And, he'll be a big part there for the rest of the year with a young North Bay club. For Parker Vaughan, again, I mean, this guy, young player, and talking to Marty Williamson, one of the things he raved about was Parker's just willingness to learn, and he loved coaching players like that, just guys that want to make themselves better, and he's got a ton of skill. I mean, he's going to be a top player in the Ontario Hockey League down the road. And, it's really, really tough giving up on these guys because you know what type of player they would be. And Marty Williamson actually, used a comparison to when he traded Ryan Strome and Barrie to Niagara. He ended up coaching Strome later, but he said it was a really tough decision to give up a young talent like that. But, junior hockey is about cycles, and when you got a chance to win, the idea is that you do it, and it's a big price tag. But all of a sudden, Parker Vaughan and Shamar Moses are going to be a big part of that young North Bay club. They're going to a really good organization with a great coach and GM there that really know how to build hockey clubs, and they're a big part of Owen's North Bay's future now. But unfortunately, you get to see them because they're in the same division a lot, and you don't tend to like to make those deals. But when it's the right deal with what you're getting back and it addresses what you need, you got to make it.
You mentioned it off air. It's an arms race, you said, in the Eastern Conference. Maybe talk about the power dynamics going on with these trades, and if you want to, you can touch on other trades going on around the league.
Yeah, right now, we got a few days, and things are really heating up, and really it's all in the East. The Western, a lot of thought that London, a powerhouse there, but Windsor and Kitchener are really good teams, but there may be a year ahead of schedule, a year or two ahead of schedule, so they're looking more to the future. So I don't think they're willing to give up the big young players to make a big deal. But, again, a team like Erie in the West is got a really big decision to make because they're a team that was looking to make some noise. I mean, Barrie fans saw just how good that Erie team is, but they got a tough decision to make about whether they want to go for it or pull back. And, similar to Brantford in the East, I think they're in the exact same position, but from what I understand, Brantford's looking to add. And, Oshawa, that big deal, like I said, for Gibson, they get a big player on the back end, which is shut down, but I don't think they're done yet. I expect them to add another forward. And I think, from what I understand and hearing, Kingston's on the verge of making a blockbuster trade with Saginaw. So if that's the case there, that Kingston, pretty good hockey club, they're loaded up as well. And just right now, you look at that East, you got Barrie and Oshawa, then you got Brantford, but then you got Kingston loaded up, and don't count out Brampton. They're down there, but Porter Martone and Rakoff, and I think they're going to try to make something here ahead of the deadline. It's just going to be an outstanding playoff run in the Eastern Conference.
Is there a chance, Gene, that we could see the Barrie Colts in the Memorial Cup?
Oh, I think very much so. Oshawa's a really good hockey club. I think they're right there. There are other teams. Brantford's talented. Kingston has looked. If they make another big trade, it definitely, will be tooth and nail. But I think when you look at this Barrie club, I think they have a lot of things. They built properly here. They got some grit up front. They play that heavy game, and in the playoffs, those teams tend to succeed. They got the depth, which is big come playoff time, playing every other night. Their blue line is, arguably the, best along with London. Oshawa has Gibson now, so it's going to be a great run. And then, of course, their goaltenders, Hillebrand. We saw what he could do last year in that opening round against Oshawa. He was outstanding, and young Ben Rebick has just been outstanding for Barrie, and they got the depth there. So I think this is very much a Barrie team that has a legit shot at definitely going to the OHL finals and perhaps winning the OHL championship and advancing to the Memorial Cup.
So on the schedule, looking forward for the Colts, we recorded this earlier, so they've already played the Owen Sound Attack on Wednesday, then it's the Peterborough Petes for Thursday, and the week ends on Saturday against the Kitchener Rangers at Sadlin. You were saying that game, that's going to be an exciting one, Gene.
Yeah, this Kitchener club is really impressive, and just the job they've done in rebuilding. They're already ahead of schedule, and they have a lot of depth even moving into next year, and it's a very good hockey club, and it's going to be a good test for Barrie. And I think there's obviously the excitement. I think this Sadlin Arena is going to be, I hope to see some sold-out crowds there. It's going to be a really good hockey club, and Kitchener's going to be a really good test on Saturday. And, look, Owen Sound, Peterborough, both rebuilding, but, you always got to be careful. You don't overlook teams in this league because, any given night, you can find yourself in the short end. But I think, with Romani back, it's going to be really exciting to see him back in the lineup and that top line. But, strap on, folks. I think we're in for a pretty good second half. Everything ramps up, the intensity, and we've got some great hockey ahead of us.
It'll be interesting for sure. Till next time, Gene.
Thanks, Will.
This is what Barrie's talking about. From Barrie 360, I'm Dan Blakely. Snow covering the soccer pitches at this point in time in Orillia, but that doesn't mean the Orillia District Soccer Club is not thinking about the season to come, and we're happy to have in studio Gary Molnar, who's an administrator there, and getting things ready. Good to see you again. It's been a while.
It has been, Dan, yeah.
You got a little bit different chore now. You used to be with Huronia Park, Historical
I'm working,
Parks.
helping currently the Orillia District Soccer Club, as you mentioned, with some administrative duties there. And exactly as you said, Dan, we're up to our eyeballs in snow right now, but actively planning for the 2025 season for Orillia District Soccer Club. We had some tryouts for the travel teams that have already occurred. Registration is going to be kicking off probably within about the next 2 to 3 weeks. Our annual general meeting is coming up, so that information will be finalized and up on our website. So certainly things are moving and shaking as far as soccer is concerned in Orillia.
This is the thing with these kinds of activities. They finish off the field or off the ice or off the diamond for a spell, but in behind the scenes, things are still happening. Things are still moving and grooving.
We're actively working on soliciting sponsors for the upcoming year. We couldn't do a lot of the things that we do for the kids and youth in Orillia without the generous sponsors that we have. So we're working on that right now. We've got many that are returning. We've been able to get some new sponsors to join us. Drent's Meat Market in Orillia is a new one. West Brennan Construction. We've got also mainstays like Royal LePage Quest in Orillia, Speedy Glass. So really a big part of what we do as far as a club's concerned to support the youth in Orillia. We're also actively recruiting too for referees. That is a big part of what we do. It's a paid position for kids. We provide the training. That is something that Doug Anderson, our club director for referees, had great success with last year. Great numbers for recruiting of referees as well. The referees and refereeing is open to all ages. We have some that generally start with us around 14 to adults that continue to help us out in a part-time capacity. It's paid as well, so it's great for a little bit of pocket change and really helps to build the confidence and esteem of the kids as well with the role that they're put in to oversee a game. And again, they've got a great support network when they volunteer and referee.
And you talked about kids as young as 14 getting in on that. These are generally, I think, kids who have come up through the system anyway. They've played soccer with the organization, and now they want to give back a little bit, maybe.
Exactly right. Yeah, many of them play on our house league and our travel teams, and it's a good introduction for them to, in a lot of cases, for their first job as well. So that's a key part of it. We kind of nurture them from players in Timbits from 4 to 6, maybe into travel teams, into refereeing. And, 3 of mine still actively play soccer too competitively. So it's a great game and can carry you through to maturity as well as a player, referee, coach.
What kind of enrollment do you have? The numbers growing?
Very good question, Dan. Yeah, we're thrilled. Last year we had one of the largest years that we had in enrollment for our house league as well as our travel. We touched almost 1,000 kids. About 150 or so are on our travel teams that range from ages 9 and up. We've got about 8 or so travel teams, and then about 850 in house league, as I mentioned, starting right from the Timbits at 4 years old to 6 years old up to the Club 18 level that we have as well for those that continue to want to play.
One of the nice things I think about soccer is the costs involved. At a house league level anyway, there's not a lot other than shoes and maybe some shin pads, I guess.
Exactly, Dan. The uniform really requirements are all covered, whether it's house league or travel. And again, thanks to the sponsors that we have that support a lot of the uniforming needs. But pair of boots and shin pads and away you go. So from the equipment perspective, it's very, very reasonable. And then we find as well that the game brings out a lot of like-minded kids that want to be outside. They build that camaraderie, and it's just a great game for their physical and mental well-being. And for the parents who have been squeezed a lot over the past few years with COVID and inflationary areas, it's very affordable to get into. Gets kids outdoors, and again, just is a great opportunity for them.
You mentioned sponsors, very, very important. Helps to keep costs down. I suspect you're probably looking for more all the time.
We certainly are, and it's very, again, just like the equipment needs for boots and a pair of shin pads. Soccer sponsorship starts at only $400 for a business, and as I mentioned, that gets the logo on the jersey. In a lot of cases, we'll endeavor, if the family owns a business and junior plays soccer, we'll endeavor to get him on the team that the parent or the family member sponsors. But for $400, the uniforms. Again, I mentioned a little bit about our very active volunteer board. We've got a director of media relations who works very closely with our sponsors to have their information on the website. We do regular Facebook, Instagram posts. There are sponsor days that we're looking at incorporating this coming year, where really they have the opportunity of exposure of thousands of parents and families that flood to the fields over 10 weeks every summer. So for sponsors as well, it's a great value at just $400 is where it starts at. There's travel team opportunities at a little bit more, but again, we feel a great value proposition. And again, most importantly, going back to what we talked about before, whether it's the parent that's joining or the sponsor that is pitching in, it's a great way to support youth from the perspective of, again, their physical, mental well-being, getting them out with kids of like interest and getting some exercise and getting outdoors and participating in, the beautiful game. And really, I think when I look at what soccer has done for my kids and our kids, the ability to, build their confidence, camaraderie, athleticism, confidence. And that's really kind of a microcosm of every sporting opportunity. But again, just a great and very affordable family opportunity. And it's also great too for going to the pitches on a Saturday morning and you see all the families collecting, and it's kind of a reunion of sorts for them once the season starts up again. Yeah,
what have you been doing over the winter?
Exactly.
What are we going to do this summer? Who's having the first pool party?
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's very social from a variety of different perspectives, and again, most importantly, is great for the health and wellness of the kids.
Registration, you said, is coming up, but for somebody, a family that's new and wants to get involved, or a new sponsor who wants to get involved, how do they do that?
The sponsorship opportunities actually are already posted on our website at orilliasoccer.com. The information regarding House League registration, again, that we're just wrapping up now as part of our annual general meeting, will be posted there as well. Once again, orilliasoccer.com information is there, and all the fees for registration will be posted there. There'll be information there about individuals that are interested in coaching. There's a great network for coaches as well. We have mentors that go to the fields and support new coaches, because there's a lot of families and parents that come to us. They're at the soccer field every Saturday morning anyway. They're saying, well, how do I pitch in? How do I help? So volunteer coaches are always available to support us. There's mentors on the field. Changed a lot from when I coached too, Dan, because nowadays if a coach is looking for a drill, they go online and Google, 6-year-old soccer drill, and the information is all there for them. So, and there's a great support network either online that is available, or again through our mentors that we have 8 of which that are at the soccer fields every Saturday morning. So if there's a coach that's been recruited through our website, not really certain, there's a mentor there to help them out, support them with drills, and they can go online. So yeah, orilliasoccer.com. Information there for referees, sponsorship, upcoming registration. If you're interested in coaching, it's kind of a catch-all there.
Gary, thanks for dropping by.
My pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity, Dan.
And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian and Will for their input, to Matt Ladder for his technical expertise, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Blue Sky and X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.